A lot of people started getting excited about crypto again, and that's because Bitcoin went up by around 50% in the last few weeks, and a lot of altcoins have been going up like crazy. But the reality is that this is nothing in comparison to a proper bull run. And I think there are 4 very strong reasons or signs why we may have a huge bull run in the next few months. And there's also one reason why things may play out a bit differently. So in this video, I'll be covering all of those reasons and basically why I think we are up for a really, really big crypto bull run. I'm Andy, and this is Crypto Like a Pro. In this channel, I talk about everything crypto, NFT, and Web3 related. So let's look at those 4 main reasons why we should have a huge crypto bull run over the next few months, or well, maybe next couple of years, but certainly we should be in the early stages of this bull run right now. Well, first of all, Bitcoin halving is coming up. We are still about 120 days away from it, and an estimated date is at the moment 23rd of April 2024. This can still move a little bit, but it looks like it's going to be somewhere around that date. And of course, in the past, always when we had halving, that led to a major crypto bull run in the following months. Bear in mind that it can take quite a while from the halving to things starting properly moving up. If we look at the previous market cycle, the halving was in early May 2020, somewhere around here. And as you can see, for quite a long time, there wasn't really that much going on. I mean, of course, those moves were quite significant percentage-wise, but if you take into account what happened later in that market cycle, you can see that it all looks almost like a straight line. Then we had a bit of DeFi summer in the summer of 2020. After that, things dipped again towards the end of 2020, and only at the very end of the year and early 2021, basically somewhere here from late October, you can see that things started properly going up. So basically it took about 6 months from the halving until things started really heating up. And at that point, Bitcoin was still trading somewhere around $12,000 or so. So it still did another 4, almost 5x from that point onwards, or even 6x almost. So even though the halving is coming up in April, it's fair to assume that if we're going to repeat previous market cycles, or if we have something similar to previous market cycles, it will probably still take most of next year before things will start properly moving up. There are some arguments that this market cycle may be different. I mean, they all are to a certain degree. And some people expect that we may see price going up significantly, possibly even to a new all-time high prior to the halving. While of course this is not impossible, it would be very surprising, at least for me, because we've never seen that before. We never had new all-time high prior to the halving. At some point after the halving, yes, of course, but basically I would expect that it's reasonable to expect that the price of Bitcoin will be moving somewhere between current price, so let's say 40,000, and maybe mid to even high 50s between now and April next year. And then after the halving, I think that's when we'll start seeing the price going up. Maybe it will be towards the end of next year. I think it's more likely that we'll see new all-time high the following year in 2025. And that major run up to something like maybe, I don't know, 150K or beyond, I think that's likely to happen at some point in 2025. My educated guess is that it will be in the second half of 2025, but how things will play out, well, we'll see. As this market cycle is progressing, we'll be able to make some bit more accurate estimates, but at the end of the day, they are just estimates. We are just speculating what may happen based on the previous market cycles. So that's one very strong argument, Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin supply is going down, therefore it's likely that the price will go up. The second reason is the overall macroeconomic situation. Of course, this will vary depending on the country, but well, a lot of our assumptions are based on what's happening in the United States. Even though I'm not based in the United States, well, that's what I mainly look at, because that market is driving largely what's happening with crypto, at least at the moment. And the situation seems to be improving generally around the world, but in the United States specifically, if we look at this. Inflation is coming down, as you can see, throughout 2022, or late 2021, and then whole of 2022. Inflation was somewhere around 7 and 9%. Early this year, it started coming down to sort of 5-6%, and right now we're sitting just above 3%. It may take quite a while to bring it down even lower to 2%, but certainly we are on the right trajectory. Because inflation is coming down, interest rates will likely start coming down soon as well. In fact, if we look at the last Fed minutes, which, that was only a few days ago on December 13th, the Fed announced that there will be most likely 3 interest rates reduction in 2024, followed by another 4 more cuts in 2025, and another 3 cuts in 2026. Of course, none of this is guaranteed, and we don't know how big those cuts are going to be. I believe that Fed announced that it's likely to be quarter percent each time, so 0.75 overall in 2024. But the market seems to be much more optimistic. It said somewhere here that the market is expecting that we may go down, 1.5 percentage points in 2024. So that would bring us down to around 3.75 to 4%. And then, of course, even further down in the following year. So this is, of course, really bullish because it means that the cost of borrowing will be coming down. And it's also an indicator that economic situation is improving. However, this is by no means guaranteed, and this is something I will come back to later in this video. The third reason or sign indicating that crypto bull run is coming is the overall market sentiment. You have to remember that with crypto, we are not really trading technology or something that's really useful in everyday life. It's not like trading stocks or of companies which are actually producing something or delivering services. With crypto, a lot of it is down to, promises what will happen in the future. I'm extremely bullish on blockchain technology overall, be it crypto or NFTs or whatever other applications we may see in the future. But I think that proper everyday implementation of crypto or blockchain will not happen for the next 3, 5, maybe even 10 years. I think this is still quite far away in the future. So essentially at the moment, we're just trading sentiments and narratives rather than actual proper use cases, if that makes sense. So what's absolutely key here, and of course that's applicable to other types of trading as well, but especially so in crypto, is what is the market sentiment? How the market feels about crypto overall, and then what particular narratives we can isolate within that broader sentiment around crypto. So we'll look at specific narratives in a moment, but important thing here is that the market is feeling overall much more optimistic about crypto. Crypto Fear and Greed Index is in a greed territory, and it's been in it for quite a while. If we look at, let's say, the whole of last year, so we've been in this sort of 60s to mid 70s range for quite a while now, since late October, so a couple of months. Before that, things were a little bit rough. And if we go back even further to the beginning of this year or late last year, as you can see, we were struggling to get even to 30. So basically things were looking very, very bearish. And if we look at the price of Bitcoin back then, let's have a look. So essentially that's the period we would be looking at, right? Second half of last year, and then end of last year and very early this year. So basically, if we zoom out a little bit, we had this whole huge period from November 2021, from the peak of the crypto bull run, when prices were generally just going down, or the price of Bitcoin was going down. Of course, it was slightly different for altcoins and NFTs, but I mean, the general pattern remained the same. Things shifted by maybe a few weeks or months, but overall it remained largely the same. So the prices were going down for months and months, and then we were trading largely sideways, or if anything, with dips down from basically mid-2022 all the way until early 2023. So for about half a year, we're in this period where essentially, if you were in the crypto space around that time, things were looking really, really gloomy. A lot of people left this space. A lot of influencers stopped posting content. When you get to this point, and especially this one here, when the prices are really low, Bitcoin was like around 17K and just going sideways, you feel like the market will never, ever bounce back up. Or you know that, okay, well, Bitcoin will eventually bounce back up, but you keep thinking, where is the bottom? Are we going down to 15K, 10K, below 10K? It just feels like the only way is down. And then maybe eventually we will recover, but it just feels like that's almost like it was never going to happen. But then eventually things, of course, start moving up again. And we had this nice move up here. And since then, of course, there were pullbacks in a way, but basically you could quite easily draw a line that indicates that, well, if you average all those prices, we are in a very clear uptrend, right? Even in those last few weeks, since like September or early October, we went from prices being somewhere in mid to high 20s all the way up to, well, staying very firmly above 40K. It feels like almost like we're in this phase right here, even though this was actually much later in the market cycle. So overall, the sentiment is much more positive. People are yet again interested in crypto. There is, of course, a lot in terms of interest from the institutions, crypto ETFs coming up and so on, or hopefully coming up soon. So that's something that's absolutely crucial for the next bull run because, well, you cannot have a proper bull run without a huge inflow of money, either from large number of individual investors or smaller number of really big institutional investors. And the reality is that while institutions may move in their own way, retail investors most likely will not jump into crypto until things start moving back up, as we can see it right now. When the prices are really low, like here, very few people actually have the courage to buy crypto. Most were waiting for it, especially those who missed out on crypto in the previous bull run. Everyone wanted for Bitcoin to go back to 20K or 10K or whatever. But when you could get Bitcoin for around 16 or 17K, very few people were buying because, like I said, it's all about that sentiment. Everyone feels like, shit, it will go down to 10K or below. Once things start going up, everyone's like, okay, well, it's not dead yet. It looks like we have at least one more bull run and probably, of course, many more in the future. And people start flocking to it back again. So yeah, that sentiment is incredibly important. And finally, altcoins are coming back to life. And that's a very important indicator because a lot of people have, or at least by crypto standards, a lot of people may have trust in Bitcoin or Ethereum or other multi-billion dollar cap altcoins like layer ones and so on, because these are big projects which have been around for quite a few years. They are really old by crypto standards. And there is, well, a reasonable expectation that they will bounce back up and perform well in the future. But a lot of altcoins, especially relatively young altcoins that maybe were only created in the last crypto bull run, well, they don't really have that history. So if we look at a chart of, let's say, something like S-Fund, one of my favorite projects, which I spoke about many times in the past, well, it had this massive, massive spike in the last bull run. But there is no reference point from the previous bear market, what happened back then, right? Because it was only really launched during the last crypto bull run. So you have this massive spike and then it crashed really badly in the bear market, as most projects did. And then for quite a while, there was pretty much nothing happening, right? And look at this massive pump over the last few weeks. And this was not happening at any point here, right? It was only going down. I mean, there were small moves up, but nothing like that. I mean, this is a very strong indicator that this project is still very much alive and kicking. Basically, as soon as we had confirmation that, well, the next crypto bull run is probably coming up relatively soon, things are improving, we can see that the price started going up. Same thing can be seen with many other projects. Altura, it was doing really, really well. But again, no history prior to the last bull run, then just trending sideways, then started going up quite nicely. But again, recent weeks started going properly up. Something like D-Race, I mean, absolutely flat, and then massive spike. I mean, it may not look massive in comparison to the last bull run, but if we take that out of equation, look at this. It's just insane. It went up from like 15 cents to 75. Illuvium, same thing, nothing, and then suddenly a spike. Super, that's another crazy one. If you look at what was happening before, then completely flat. And then this massive move up from like around 7 cents or so to 55, or I mean, at some point over 70 cents. So that was like a 10x move in something that's still nowhere near a proper bull run. So altcoins started moving, and that clearly indicates that, okay, there is still a fair bit of trust in crypto. And bear in mind that people who are now in crypto, and especially people who are now buying altcoins, are those who were around in the last crypto bull run and probably the one before that. It's extremely unlikely, or very few people are coming into the market right now and jumping straight into altcoins. That's, I mean, of course, there are people who do it, but there are very few of them because, well, overall, the sentiment, although it's improving for those who are tracking crypto quite closely, if you look from the outside, it still looks quite scary to invest in crypto now. And certainly if you don't have much experience with it, you can buy Bitcoin, you can buy Ethereum quite easily. But if you haven't been around for a while, it's rather unlikely that you are looking at those mid and micro cap altcoins unless you really properly jumped into it over the last few months. But like I said, very few people will actually do it. So overall, the situation is improving quite rapidly. It certainly feels like we are in those early stages of the next big crypto bull run. As I said in my previous videos, I expect a bumpy ride until the next halving, so until April next year. And then after that, I expect relatively gradual move up towards the end of next year. And from the end of next year, so that will be end of 2024, throughout 2025, I think we'll see that massive parabolic move up. However, it's really important to remember that absolutely nothing is guaranteed when it comes to investing. And when it comes to investing in crypto, let alone lower cap altcoins, well, things are most definitely never, ever guaranteed, and a lot of people will end up losing their money. Vast majority of people will end up losing their money. And we have to remember that although a lot is pointing towards the situation overall improving around the world, there is still a possibility that we may have a recession. And in fact, if you Google, will there be a recession in 2024, the first few links, literally every single link will tell you something different. So the very first one at the top, there is a possibility of a mild recession in the second half of 2024. Okay, well, that's quite optimistic. Literally the second link after that, a severe recession may be coming in 2024. And in fact, in the article, it says early 2024. Then the next one, mild recession in mid-2024, recession unlikely in 2024, short and shallow recession in the first half of 2024, and so on and so on. So literally every single source is telling you something different, which basically means that no one has a clue what will actually happen. I would say that there is higher likelihood that there will be either no recession or a relatively soft one. So hopefully things will be overall quite good. But of course, nothing is ever guaranteed. And if we do have a recession, well, crypto may suffer quite a bit because of that. So that's always something we need to consider. There are also other things at play which may balance it. Amongst those are the US presidential election in late 2024. Basically, if someone wants to be re-elected as a president, there is pretty good chance that they will do whatever they can to at least short-term improve the situation in the country because, well, if people are poor and unhappy, they're not going to vote for the same person, right? There is high likelihood that the current president may do whatever he can to improve situation at least short term. There are essentially a lot of things that can potentially come into play, but overall, I think the situation looks more optimistic than not. So I think we'll have pretty solid bull run coming up soon. And I think that, well, now is definitely the time to start preparing for it. Whether that means buying low cap altcoins, well, that's of course an extremely risky strategy, but this is now the time where you should be looking very closely at the projects which you may want to invest in. There may be a dip coming up soon. I think the market hit up quite a lot recently. I showed you those few charts a moment ago. And when you see a parabolic move like that, I think it's reasonable to expect a bit of a pullback. Also in January, a lot of people will need some additional liquidity to pay their tax bills and so on. So there may be a little bit of a sell-off. Personally, I'm expecting a bit of a pullback over the next few weeks and then another move up towards the halving. But of course, it's hard to predict how things will exactly play out. What I want to say is that this is not the worst time to start putting money back into crypto. Of course, as always, do your own research, invest according to your own risk tolerance and so on. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just giving my own opinion. But at the end of the day, you need to make your own decisions and move in a way that's comfortable for you rather than according to what some guy on the internet is telling, right? All that being said, I know that everyone is interested in crypto gaming coins. I'll be making my next video in the next few days, which will be focused on those projects. And also, I promised in my previous video that I will make a full crypto playbook for 2024. That is still coming. I'll make it over Christmas, so that's ready for you for the start of the next year. And if you are interested in this kind of content, please do subscribe to the channel so you are always notified about those new videos. And also do check out my website, Crypto Like a Pro. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section and I'll try to answer them or address them in the next video. As always, thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.